Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Lee Scott, the owner and president of Corp2000, a nationwide public records, filing, and document retrieval service company. Welcome to the call, Lee.
Thank you.
Lee, you grew your company's revenue from $2.5 million in 2014 to $4 million in 2017, a 62% increase, and in 2018, you hit around $4.8 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Yeah, so one thing that we do is I kind of say we're a corporate diligence company. We work with commercial finance companies in the real estate, corporate transaction attorneys and paralegals, doing diligence work on these larger commercial transactions. It's required that an attorney is on both sides, and what we do is a simple term, what I kind of say in that diligence work is a corporate credit check. We pull corporate documents throughout the country, internationally as well, to verify information for these attorneys and paralegals to verify kind of creditworthiness of these corporations in these transactions.
So the paperwork that you're able to pull and deliver are pretty standard?
Yes, they're pretty standard.
Okay, and you can do this for any state entity within the U.S., of course, and it sounds like you could also do it from other countries as well.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, very cool. And how do you differ from sorry, go ahead.
Well, no problem. I would say we can even go down to the county level as well. So there's the statewide jurisdictions, but there's a whole other layer below that, which is county level work as well. So that's a pretty vast layer of locations in which we can obtain and file documentation.
Okay, great. How about at the city level? Is there a city level of paperwork that you can retrieve and file as well?
There is. We do some fictitious business name filings as well, and we do that at the city level.
Okay, great. Now, how does your business differ from the other companies that offer something similar?
Well, I would say it's our attention to detail. I do say we're kind of we have big business services with a boutique feel. And one way that we do that is a client, let's say client A, orders a good standing from California. A typical response from a competitor or somebody else in the industry would be just, nope, they're not in good standing. The individual receiving that, the client receiving that, paralegal potentially, would be, okay, they're not in good standing. What Corp2000 does and how we separate ourselves is that attention to detail by telling you, yes, one, it's not in good standing. Two, the reason why it's not in good standing, and often it's a financial, and say the dollar amount that is owed is this. So there's these additional valuable pieces of information that then they can just turn on forward onto their client who could resolve the issue relatively quick, and then they can get back to ordering it and getting it back into good standing.
So the other companies have access to the same information. They're just not bothering to pass it along?
That is correct.
So they pull the document, they see they're in bad standing, they just say, oh, this company's in bad standing. They take the 30 seconds or 1 minute to read the document and figure out why and pass that along.
Because of the volume that they do, and I think it's we have a little more personal response and feel to what it is we do. I would say we care a little bit more about the work that we do, and it shows by the attention to detail when we reply with information.
Right, got it. Now, your company had some pretty rapid sales growth, right? 2.5 million in 2014 to 4 million in 2017. This past year, 2018, another 20% increase to 4.8 million. Can you talk about what were the three biggest drivers of that growth?
So the three biggest drivers is one is referral. We are on a list for referrals with the jurisdictions throughout the country where they often rotate service companies, and we're referred information or referred clients from them. There's also, because we've been established, we have standing relationships. There is movement within the industry in jobs, and individuals take us with them, and that's been another big category of growth. They go from one firm to another firm or one company to another company, and they take us with us. And because we have that built that long-standing relationship and trust with, and we're established with that company. The new individual that comes on keeps us, but then they also take us to their new location and so grow. So referrals. And then a big one over in 2016 was there was an acquisition that took place in 2016 that really, spurred a little bit of the growth. And then we do have sales as well, so that's kind of the third. So first would be referrals, direct sales and marketing, and acquisition are the three.
Okay. So when you say a referral list, that's on a state level, for example, or the county level. They have a list of companies, and then as people ask for companies that can retrieve documents and provide information, the states and the counties would just go down this list and rotate among the vendors there, right?
That is,
okay.
Yes, that is correct.
So not a lot of people there. I guess the key thing you can only control is making sure that your company maintains good standing and stays on the list, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then the next part about the referral side is that you do good work with the people who engage you, and they remember, and they just go back to you again and again. And when they switch companies, they continue the relationship, right? For the second part of the referral side.
That is correct. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And then 2016, you had an acquisition. Can you give more details about the acquisition?
Yes, it was. I had been looking for a new location, actually. I know it's kind of an interesting story, maybe. I was looking for a new location because the building I was in was being acquired, and was looking for a new location, and this office building was for sale, and went to look at it, and lo and behold, I'm like, well, Corp2000, that's a competitor. And long story short, not really long story, but went in and just asked the owners, would you be interested in selling? And they were at a point that they decided they were. And about 6 to 9 months later, we merged the companies together, and we're Corp2000 now. And and they were a little bit bigger than NTS at the time, and I like Corp2000's name. It actually really fits the industry much better than CTS at the time. So merged the companies together and kept the Corp2000 name, and that really spurred a little bit of the big growth. The 20% growth over last year is referrals and direct sales and marketing.
Okay, great. And that brings me to the third question: direct sales and marketing. Can you talk a little bit more about how that boosted your sales by 20%?
Yes. So we work with our current clientele. In addition, we've come, I don't want to give away too many secrets, but I found a really good treasure trove in generating leads. And we've over the many years really perfected how we communicate and the message that we want to communicate across that segment within the market, and that has been very beneficial, because in the industry it is a bit of a tough industry to penetrate because of that trust factor, because of these transactions they're relatively large. There's a lot at stake in our industry. You make a mistake. You really can't, because if you misfile something, you miss a deadline, the deal is done, and then that's a direct reputation. That reputation falls back on you. And if you break that trust, it really jeopardizes your future dealings with that client. So we strive for perfection, and being able to get that message across and out to these individuals, being able to really hone in on what market are you going after, how you're going to communicate, and then executing on that has been very beneficial.
Okay. What details can you share about how you did this? Was it through online marketing, offline marketing?
So we did research, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a treasure trove.
Okay.
I'm able to pinpoint specifically whom I'm targeting, and gain, and then we would take and do research off of kind of the referral within there, or the other associations, I'd say associations that are within LinkedIn.
Yep.
Take that, and then we would go to a research type individual, expand upon that, getting the direct contact information and verifying all the information to make sure, and then we would put it into a lead generation specialist's hands, who then would contact and qualify it a bit more, and then share that. Then it would go on to the senior account executive.
Right. Now, sounds like a bit of a manual process, right? It's not like automated. It sounds like quite a bit of manual work is involved here. Is that right?
There is a little bit of manual work involved.
Like, could you?
That is correct. I think but I think the value that you gain in knowing specifically that this is who you're targeting and having a clear picture as to who you're targeting, and the little bit of research to hone in and verify the name, the lead, the phone, the address, all the detailed information you need for a very solid lead kind of outweighs any acquisition of lead, purchasing leads or anything like that.
Right. But it sounds, I mean, can you scale this up 10x at a flip of a switch if you wanted to?
You could.
Okay. What about the labor component?
Absolutely.
I mean, because that seems like the bottleneck, right? Doing the additional research manually.
Well, we split it up where someone's not doing that because of the number of leads that they generate in a day, and then to go qualify that, we split the day up a little bit where it's not just solely focused on that they're also having to kind of qualify that research work that they've done.
Okay.
So we split it a little bit to help just to kind of help break that up and keep the flow going.
Yeah. All done in-house, or you outsource a lot of this process?
Yeah, in-house, all in-house.
Okay. So, I mean, I know you said you could scale it up 10x, but I'm not quite. Maybe I know you haven't shared a lot of details of it, so maybe I'm missing some key component. But it sounds like you know the times I've used LinkedIn, and I agree with you, it's a fantastic tool, right? You can find people, use the Sales Navigator, you can really narrow it down.
Yes.
And you can find people, and sometimes their contact information is out of date, of course, right? Neither does what people submit in their own profile. So yes, I can see how you might want to have someone else verify the information, find the correct up-to-date contact details. But that seems to be a little bit of the right. And like, how would you 10x this, right? It seems like you'd almost have to hire more people in order to literally get 10 times the amount of leads flowing through your system.
You would need to hire more. So you're saying scale, kind of get more out of the productivity, or the question would get more out of the process that I have now without actually having to gain more individuals or hiring more individuals?
So I guess it can go both ways. Like, maybe we can make it easier if we talk about numbers. Like, how many leads does your system currently generate for you per day before your team reaches out to them?
Around 40 leads a day.
Okay, so 40 leads a day. And then your team, and this is the leads, researchers already pulled the correct contact information and they meet the criteria as far as you can tell, right, through the tools that you have.
Correct.
Okay, so if you want to go 400 leads per day, can you do that without hiring?
No.
Okay.
You would need to hire.
Right. But I imagine, like you said, you could probably improve your process a bit and maybe bump this up to maybe 50 leads per day.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I do tend to explore things in automation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this was a previous question that was asked, but this kind of leads to one of the other things that we do and that does separate us is our services. We do have a technology that we've invested in that allows us to level the playing field, but doesn't, and again, I say we have big business services with a boutique feel because we still like the manual and the human nature of the interaction between individuals, where some companies require you to go online to submit documentation and everything's done online, where we're able to email and communicate via email. However, I do have technology that allows us to automate certain areas within the business that do also separate us from the other companies that are out there as well. So I haven't looked into the actual sales process or the lead generation process to see if there's a way to automate that. I haven't explored that at this point, but that's an area that I can explore if we could automate some part of that name generation.
Yep.
I haven't explored that at this point, but I can assure you, knowing my mind and knowing the way I work and function and the organization, that we would work pretty quickly, and that would better answer the question of could you tenfold it? And I don't know at this point. I think there's potential. I think
Yeah, I
there's
think
potential.
the key is identifying where the bottleneck is, right? And then
Yes.
automating that bit, or better yet, eliminating it if it's not necessary,
Yes.
if you can. So I imagine your conversion rate of the 40 leads per day, because you're doing so much research in advance and you're customizing the message, or rather the sales team can now customize their message when they outreach and they reach out to them. Your conversion rate must be, I imagine, quite high. Can you share any details as how you get 40 leads a day, how many of these actually will take a call from your team, and then ultimately how many end up doing business with you?
I'm still putting those numbers together. It is a newer process that we've implemented, and at this moment I'm still compiling and compressing those numbers. So I don't have any direct detailed numbers at this point.
Sure. Well, it was good enough to generate 20% increase in sales. The process overall is working. So the 20.
It is. And again, it's newer, so there's a little bit, like you said earlier, there's a little more manual in there.
Yep.
And I'm fairly heavy on technology, and I'm implementing in some of that reporting and the detailed information that we really need. So I do anticipate that within the next quarter to 2 quarters of having those very fine detailed that the details we need to know.
Yep.
Which we need to know those.
Yeah. Once you know the numbers, you know the steps in your conversion rates at each part of your sales funnel, sales process, then you know where you can optimize it, right?
Yes.
You can really really leverage your system. So for the 20% sales increase that you experienced from 2017 to 2018, how much of that came from new business, and how much of that came from just doing more business with your existing customer base?
I would say probably that 3 to 5% was new business, and 15 was from existing clients doing different types of work, not quite knowing that, hey, they need to be doing this. If you're doing, I can get into the details of the work and maybe real quick. So if you do a UCC filing, which is a Uniform Commercial Code, if you're doing a UCC filing, because there's a transaction, and what a UCC is, simply put, is it secures a corporation or a financial institution's position in case of default. So it is a document that's filed at the state level to secure a financial institution's position in case of default from this borrower. That's kind of the simple answer of a UCC. And the term we kind of say in the industry actually is there's nothing uniform about Uniform Commercial Code. So when you do that, at many states throughout the country and jurisdictions, even county level, there's still a manual process involved where an individual literally retypes what you sent them. And because of that, these filings are, again, around larger transactions, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million and up dollar deals. It is highly important. I mean, it's essential. And I say constantly, there's zero room for error. That if that filing isn't done correctly, then something happens and they default and you go to court and nobody does it, and it's called a search to reflect. That if nobody does that search to reflect and verify that filing wasn't done correctly, they get into court, the UCC may not hold up in a court of law. So one of our clients actually started doing this it's called a search to reflect, and confirm search. There's kind of several names in the industry that individuals call this. And what that does is it verifies that when this was filed, it was filed correctly. That was one of our UCC filers decided that this is an avenue that they needed to go, and decided that was and they're one of our larger clients. So that was part of that growth. And then I think a little bit was the economy spurred. We got through the election and through all the, and then the taxes, and kind of got through a little bit of the political and so I think and that tax reform and that kind of just spurred into a little bit of the growth from existing clients again.
So for the UCC example you gave, so the company that you work with wanted to review all their past UCC filings, and they had your with that. Is that what the growth was? The additional services you were able to provide them?
Well, it was more not that we went back and verified all the ones that they had already done, but just moving forward for every individual filing that they did, that they would do an additional search on that.
Okay. And
so it was adding an additional service to what we've already done.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Getting more business from your existing customers in this way is always the best.
Correct.
Right? Because you're just adding more value to them. Now.
Yes.
Now, why wasn't this done before in the past? Is this a new service you added, or is it just that your client never knew that you had it, or just the client never really saw the value until you brought it to their attention?
A culmination. They didn't realize that we did it. They didn't realize the necessity of doing it and the value in doing it. So it was a little bit of both of those that spurred them to decide, yes, we better do this.
Right. If you were to quantify how many different forms and services that your team can provide in aggregate, how many different? Sounds like it's going to be in the hundreds, if not more.
Maybe not quite that many. Okay. We search, we file, we monitor documents throughout the country. And I know that that's very simple and basic in its terms. There's considerably more to it than just that. I mean, each jurisdiction has kind of a plethora of documents. I mean, the state of California has 50 to 75 different types of documents, because there's an Inc., there's an LLC, there's a GP, and then there's the subsequent like LLC 12. So if you file a formation, which would be an LLC1, you need to do, your annual report or your termination. There's different documents for that. But, I mean, kind of reality is we file documents throughout the country, nationwide, and international. We do apostilles, which is a international legalization, authorization of a document. It requires multiple steps. We do a significant number of those as well. So there's UCC, corporate, apostille, registered agent, and annual report, which goes in line with registered agent work that we do, monitoring. And I think that really does cover all the different type, really the crux of what we do.
Right. Multiplied by all the ones that each state may have for you to provide all those services, right?
If you that would be a tough number to quantify. And then you have the county level as well.
Yeah.
And then the city level. Yeah. So it is still pretty uniform in the sense that if I wanted to file articles of incorporation in Texas, yes, that form is pretty standard. It's not the same as California, but it's, Texas is Texas. It's pretty standard. Yes, here's a document, you need to do this. And we're very proficient. I mean, we've been in business. This is our 40-year anniversary. So this is our 40-year anniversary this year. So we're excited about that.
Right.
As well.
So for 2019, can you share some details on what your plans are, what objectives are, what challenges that you foresee you need to overcome to accomplish them?
So the plan is to continue the growth, bolster kind of the sales and marketing team, get that message out. We definitely want to grow that. We're looking forward to probably another 15 to 20% growth this year. Certainly, and so that's the plan. That's the plan to continue to grow and push. 2019 also part of that is to continue to optimize areas with some of the electronic filings throughout the country. More and that deals with UCCs and even like formation filings to try to automate some of that and streamline the business to help with growth as well, help facilitate that growth that we anticipate 2019. Challenges. So the challenges is just, I think, going to be just the economy. We do, because we really work in the area of some of these financial transactions between real estate acquisitions or debt restructuring or venture capital money that when we as commercial financial institutions, when rates go up, we tend to notice that because activity tends to slow a bit.
Okay.
So economy is one thing that we are, and I am keeping my eye on for 2019. I mean, know that somewhere in the road there's going to be a business cycle that isn't favorable to business. So that, we're anticipating that. And another reason for the push and for wanting to continue to grow. We do keep our eyes on interest rates. We do keep our eyes on economy and how things are going.
Okay.
And so that's the biggest challenge I see really moving forward. Outside of that, it's just keep doing what we're doing and keep doing what we're doing.
Now, you said about bolstering your sales and marketing team. Can you give some details on what the plans are there?
Well, I haven't looked into the automation part of that, which I definitely plan on doing. However, it would be nice to maybe grow some of our LGSs to 2, 3, 4, 5, and cover more East Coast, West Coast with account executives.
You said LGS?
That would be lead generation specialist.
Okay.
So that good question. So that the individual who's generating the leads, qualifying the lead, contacting, is there interest from this individual? That part of the work is we call that a lead generation specialist.
And you mentioned that you are thinking about, you're planning to hire 4 or 5 more to enter into a different market, and you mentioned the East Coast side of the U.S.
Yeah, we do cover East Coast and West Coast, but to have an representative that could cover East Coast would be wonderful. Potentially grow to have another individual, maybe Midwest,
okay,
and then off to the West Coast. So the West Coast rep, mid, and East Coast.
Okay. Now, these people, you imagine they're going to be sitting in your offices in California covering all these markets, or do you think they might actually have to be closer to the East Coast and the Midwest and the West?
Closer to the East Coast, Midwest, yes. It would be nice if they actually resided in that area. Again, the industry that we work in, yes, physical presence, I think, is as I've noticed many years past that individuals were it seemed to me corporate was making a little bit of change where gifts were much more accepted. I could send you, pins are still accepted, shirts and T-shirts and kind of corporate gifts. And then I noticed maybe it was 2009 to 2014, 15 or so, it seemed like a lot of companies were frowning upon they didn't, gifts. They didn't want this. So there was a kind of I felt like in America there was a kind of a corporate culture change of this sense of potential bribery happening. And for an individual who's, I would say we're, mid-sized company, I'm pretty intimate with my clientele and intimate with the business all, and just as an appreciation to share with them, I'd like to send them some gift. And that was kind of, I noticed it seemed it was a little bit more difficult. And then in the recent past, I think this has changed. Some of it is also the clientele that's to focus on, kind of in the legal industry. And the legal industry is really all by appointment and face-to-face. I know they're more accustomed to face-to-face and where it seems like it's a little more welcoming. And I've really seen value over the last several years of face-to-face, kind of that we're here for you. That just face-to-face. There's I've seen value in the face-to-face.
For lead generation specialists that are closer to your potential clients, more helpful than not.
Well, the lead generation specialist can be anywhere.
Right.
That could be California-based, but the actual here account executives, the sales representatives that would be visiting the clients and actually touching base with those clients, having them throughout the country would be valuable.
Right. And that's something that you're planning to do in 2019?
Oh, that is the plan. That is the plan.
Right. How many are you looking to hire? Are you looking to hire a handful of people or dozens of people?
A handful would be, that's probably fair. A handful.
Okay. So right now, how many employees do you have right now?
15.
Okay, so that's a fairly big increase.
Yes, it is.
Right, 15 to 20. I mean, and they're not going to be in your office, right? So you're not going to be seeing them every day.
Well, yes.
All right.
The lead generation specialists will have on site, so we'll do those local. For the month, I am open, and I do explore. I am open to ideas of them working in any jurisdiction throughout the country. I am open to that, kind of remotely. I am open to remote because I have enough of the process and enough of information tracking and like I say, first quarter, the numbers that you asked me about conversion rates and things, I will have considerably more tools in place and reports in place to help better manage individuals no matter where they throughout the country.
Right.
And that's why the plan would be, yes, bring more individuals on to do more. And once those tools are in place, it'll make that management considerably easier.
Now, what are you doing on the marketing front, right? Are you running ads anywhere, either online or traditional?
It's pretty basic at the moment. We do social media, we do email blasts, and that's pretty much the bulk of what we do. I haven't done any videos or any commercials. I haven't done any advertisement in magazines at this point. It's something certainly going to explore moving forward to do some of that, even online. Get back. I have another avenue that I want to explore in 2019 that maybe the pay-per-click isn't going to be so outrageous, and it's a little bit of a niche. Because if you go to, how to file my corporate document, well, every other corporate filing service is out there. There's these really big dogs that they're very consumer driven. And and that's the consumer side of things. Of I need to file my I need to create a corporation, file a corporation, start a corporate, and that is big, heavy pay-per-click neck of the woods that I've been there before. I plan on taking another route of a little more niche-y, a little more sophisticated search, which is an apostille, and exploring that in plain.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these bigger international companies need to do apostille work because they're international, and so they need these legalizations done and or apostilles done. Part of what they do. And we're talking Fortune 500 companies that need this done, and we do a fair amount with some of those companies.
Can you share the terminology you just used? Did you say Atlas deals? Is that the phrase that you just? Yeah?
Apostille. Apostille, or a term called legalization, and so if a company's doing business in another jurisdiction, or another country, there are certain items that they need to have legalized to conduct business in those countries.
Right,
and so they need.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so they need those done to conduct business in those countries.
Right.
And part of that process is filing and legalizing documentation.
Right. And then
and it's a sophisticated filing. It's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, I think anybody could probably wake up tomorrow and start filing articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State of California. It's pretty. Of course, you have to have the clients to send it to you to do it, but it's not overly complex.
Right.
Once you start getting into mergers and or a triangular merger, things can get very tricky. An apostille is, again, depending on if it's part of the Hague, what country you're in, there's certain requirements for that. And so you need to know what you're doing to do that.
And you brought up as an example of maybe this might be a pay-per-click campaign idea that's not as competitive because it's not like a end consumer thing like filing an LLC that everyone's competing for, right? It's more of a niche area that now people are targeting a market like this one.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Got
Correct.
it.
Yes.
So imagine you put a billboard on one of the busy freeways in California, the ones that are moving, they're gridlocked, and there's a billboard there. Right? I mean, it's a different question if you're talking about the ones that get, that's a parking lot during rush hour. But say it's one that's actually freely moving, and there's a billboard. People typically only 6 seconds to read a billboard message. What is your Corp2000 billboard message?
Oh boy. Billboard to me would be consumer, and I would say incorporate today for free. And I would build a consumer process around that.
Okay. Now, you're not serving that market right now, though, right?
I am not, but a billboard would be, if it was kind of what is our elevator pitch or what is our slogan, it would be just efficiency in processing documents precisely.
Right.
That maybe I would say that instead.
Right.
Efficiency in processing documents precisely. And some of the things I talked about before is our attention to detail allows us to precisely documents. And it is essential that we do that because, again, and we don't always know the level of the deal that we're dealing with, meaning is it a $1 million deal? Is it a $100, $200 million deal? I don't know. I don't know that I want to know either, but it requires us to be perfect in what it is we do when we file or we're searching documentation, pulling up that diligent work. When there's a large deal at hand, making sure in every jurisdiction you're compiling that proper documentation, doing the research work, that it's done very, very well, precisely.
Totally. I can totally see how.
And so I would maybe say, efficiency in processing documents precisely.
Yeah. It's actually a lot of different ways you can slice it, right? I mean, that would be like your broader billboard, but if you were targeting VC firm, you could have another message that would be along those lines, but I think even more precise. Right?
Yes. Or big business services with a boutique feel. It's kind of another, we do, and that's a dedicated representative that you'll have. Representatives and then we have individuals in the organization 10 years up, and again, we're only 15, and within 4 individuals I have over like 80, 90 years worth of experience. We have vast experience, we have vast knowledge, and we're constantly compiling knowledge to where it's accessible for newer entry individuals into the industry as well. It's kind of just an internal insight into the company. Right. We spend a lot of time on not having tribal knowledge, so to speak, that we have resources accessible, because things are a little bit different in every jurisdiction. And being able to know what to do where you are in that jurisdiction is very valuable and very important.
Yeah, I mean, like a deal can be won or lost with one word that's misspoke in this place.
It can, and if you don't dot that I or cross that T and it gets filed, you potentially lose a client.
Or if it gets filed late.
Yeah,
I mean,
you miss a deadline. Yeah,
I mean that's
Yes.
They don't often give you an extra 5 minutes just because you happen to be 5 minutes late. That's too bad. So.
No, they do not.
2 last questions for you. Who are your ideal clients?
Okay.
What's the best way for them to contact your firm?
So ideal clients are going to be law firms that deals kind of specifically with corporate finance, venture capital, private equity, the attorneys and paralegals that deal, or commercial transactions that deal in that world. Ideal transaction attorneys and paralegals, finance companies. So if you're a commercial finance, you do everything from mobile homes up to solar financing as well. Solar financing is very, very popular, very lucrative, also into commercial and other. So financial institutions, and then real estate companies that purchase, manage, have multiple entities throughout the country, or multiple properties that they manage. So real estate as well, And the best way to reach out is going to be orders at Corp2000, so ORDERS at Corp2000, CORP2000.com. And a good number to reach is 916-441-2626. Again, 916-441-2626.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today, Lee, and sharing how you accelerate your company's high-value sales.
Malcolm, I appreciate the time.
We've been speaking with Lee Scott, the owner and president of Corp2000, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales, visit Eversprint.com.